On behalf of the Work Better Now team, I welcome everybody to this episode of Working Better Now, a series on workbetternow.com featuring a Q&A with a successful, and in today's case, an amazing business leader. So today we're thrilled to be joined by Shawn Busse, CEO and founder of Kinesis. Shawn, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, glad to be here. It's a real delight.
Just for everybody's benefit, or not, Shawn and I go back a few years. We were in a CEO group together, and we just hit it off right from day one. And I'm really, based on the conversations I've had with Shawn over the years, I'm really excited to be speaking with him and to share some of Shawn's wisdom with everybody. Shawn, tell us a little bit about Kinesis.
Yeah, sure. So Kinesis helps small businesses, largely those that are in the B2B space. So businesses that are selling to other businesses. And, we do a combination of services for them, anything that helps them become more vibrant and able to really thrive as an organization. And so that runs a gamut from marketing and branding and positioning to business strategy to culture and sort of internal operations to make them better.
Terrific. And give us an example. You can either name a company, a client, or you can just refer to one generically of, like a company came to you with this situation and you did this with them and now they're doing something better.
Yeah. I mean, I probably talk about this client a little bit too much, but we've become good friends, as I think you often do in this world of small business. So my friend David Nichols and his business partner Carl, they have an industrial automation company called Loop. That's L-O-U-P-E. And they were like a lot of industrial automation companies when they came to us, in that they were really trying to really beat on the sales lever to make the organization grow. So the idea was, right, we hire salespeople, the salespeople go out and get new business, we sell more business, hire more salespeople, and thus the organization should grow. And I think they were maybe, 7 years in or so. I might be underestimating that a little bit, but they've been trying to make this work for a while. And like a lot of businesses come to us with that problem. They've been trying to pound sales to make the organization grow. And what we did is we said, well, is the thing that you're trying to communicate and articulate as a value proposition worth paying attention to? And oftentimes that's the big challenge. And so we really help them reposition the company and how it offers its value, how it communicates, really move into a place from transactional relationships to transformational relationships. So they're much more on the consultative side of things now, rather than on the transactional. You buy things from me, I sell them to you. And then I would add, what they've done really well is they've taken the work that we did together, that we co-created, and I like that word because we work with our clients in a very co-creation kind of way. And then they've pushed it out there, and they push it out there on social media. They push it out there through brand. They push it out there through how they messaging. They've changed their business model dramatically as a result of that work. And I would say it's not any one thing, right? It's a culmination of things that for them really started with their mission, vision, and values, and understanding what they stood for, and then bringing that into the marketing and sales process. And you can just kind of watch the change in the company through that process.
It's very cool. It's really interesting because you're kind of every business, well, most business owners, I would say, know that they feel like their company is special, but yet, they run ads with stock photos, and I've been guilty of that. And, it doesn't come out in what they're doing. So it's really powerful what we're talking about. So what did you do before Kinesis? How did you get to starting Kinesis?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot, I think this is so common. I'm not special in any way, and that I worked for another business, and I had come out of college and then grad school. I thought I was going to go be an art professor, but turns out that wasn't in the cards for a number of reasons. And I'm actually really glad that didn't work out. So I went to work at an ad agency. I was totally unqualified for the job that I was given. But I'm resourceful. And so I figured out lots of ways to add value to the business and kind of moved my way up pretty quickly. But then after a couple of years, I started to like look around and be like, wow, the morale here is really terrible. People don't really like each other, and the leaders didn't actually really respect the people that were working for them. And I think that that's not uncommon for entrepreneurs to get put into that situation and go, wait a minute, I can do better than this. I'm totally unqualified to start a business, which I was, but I think I can do better than the baseline of treating employees like they don't matter.
Right.
And so I was just motivated to try something better and to do something different. And I think the thing that I did that was kind of an accident, but in retrospect was really smart, is that I started the business with a couple of other business owners. So there were three of us, and two of us were very inexperienced, and the third one had a bit more experience and had been a consultant. And that really helped us because she filled in a lot of gaps that we had in terms of how to run the business.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So from artist to entrepreneur, totally unqualified, and then 21 years later, I've learned quite a few things along the way, and am fortunate to have had some really good mentors and relationship. Meeting people like you has been really transformational.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And, I think that story is actually pretty common.
Yeah. It's
especially the part about like, I know I can do better than this.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the American way, which I really appreciate about our country. And in terms of like, if you see something that's not working, you can like do something about it. And, I have a pretty significant population of immigrants in my company who come from countries that are more rigid and more oriented towards socialism and lots of that stuff. And that's okay. But I'm like, ask them, well, why do you stay here? And it's like, well, I like the ability to change things. And,
Right.
and so that's, I think, the great thing about business in America.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't take that for granted.
Yeah.
Shawn, tell us a little bit about your team.
Yeah. So I like to say our superpower has been hiring for the last 20 years. We've really put a ton of energy into looking for great people who are motivated self-starters. And it's interesting. Somebody pointed this out at one point. They're like, wow, seems like a lot of us come from families of entrepreneurs. And at one point I looked around and it was like 75% of our employees at least had come from a family of entrepreneurs. I did. My dad was a lifelong entrepreneur. And it's still a very high percentage. And so I think what that does is children of entrepreneurs kind of learn from an early age that nothing can be taken for granted and nothing is consistent. And so they're really good with change. And so hiring people who are good with change is just such a winning play when you're in the business of advice, when you're in the business of trying to help other people. Because, fundamentally we're in an era of massive radical change. And so if you have employees who like change and embrace it and aren't scared of it, they thrive in this kind of environment. And I think that's been a big part of our success, as has been, I'd say, really my willingness to empower people and let them be their best selves. I hate being micromanaged. And so I don't micromanage people. Sometimes has its own problems, but fundamentally I like to let people have a lot of runway and to move things forward themselves.
Yeah, I heard I was listening to a podcast. I don't know if you're familiar with Dan Sullivan, strategic coach. And he said something about how he brings on people who, and his role is to help people build a better future for themselves in what they do. And I thought that was just really, really cool. We're always trying to do that as entrepreneurs, and in an ideal world, our people are doing that too. Yeah, I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point. I mean, I know for me this is true, and I think a lot of the people I know this is true. Like the things that are meaningful to them are like an employee buys a house, an employee gets married, an employee has a kid, an employee sends a kid off to college. Like like when your team is succeeding, it's really meaningful. I think those are the things that like last with us versus like, oh, we hit 20% net income or some
Right.
metric. Yeah.
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 So, thinking about that, what do you consider your role as CEO to be? Sounds like you have a team full of self-starters, people who are, embrace change. What do you do all day?
I mean, treating people like adults really has its advantages. So, I don't worry about how they spend their time. I don't worry about, are they on Facebook or texting their relatives or whatever. I come from the assumption that people will do good work if you respect them and treat them well and give them something worth working on. And so as a result of that, I spend like very little of my time, kind of worrying about, is this person doing the right thing or not doing the right thing? I try to spend most of my time, especially understanding what's going on in the market and like what customers are feeling. And I think that is such an important thing for a CEO to understand because it changes a lot. You know, a couple months ago, we thought, oh, COVID's coming to an end and we're going to get rid of the masks. And now we're being told not so fast. 2 years ago, we were talking about, kind of a positioning statement for Kinesis around, elevating your business and it being the best it can possibly be, which is a great aspirational thing. And then COVID hits and, oh my gosh, everybody thinks the world is ending. And so understanding where your customers are at in the moment really can help you figure out where you need to take your company. I think that's like probably job number 1 or 2 of a CEO. And then I think similarly understanding, what's the morale of the team? How are people feeling? Are they engaged? Are they uplifted? Just kind of as a group. I think that's super important. You keep your finger on the pulse of that. We don't have an HR professional in our company. My goal is to like postpone that as long as possible. Largely because I feel like sometimes it can cause the CEO to kind of take their eye off that ball, the culture ball. And so I feel like keeping your finger on that pulse is really important. I think those 2 things are probably job 1 and 2. And then I'd say the vision of the company is the 3rd piece, because if you're really empowering people to do the work, they're in the work, like they're doing it every day. And often they don't have time to kind of look up and go, oh, where can we be in 3 years? And so I think your job is to understand where are customers today, where do you think they're going? And then where can we go to make sure that we're aligning with them in the next, 2-3 years? I think that's probably about as long as I want to plan out, is 2 or 3 years these days. Yeah.
So many things will change between now and then.
Yeah.
So at Work Better Now, we believe that how you do things is just as important as what you do. What are some of the things that Kinesis does very well?
Yeah, I'd say the things that we are kind of in our sweet spot have been forever. Anything that has to do with brand, positioning, any kind of like design, like, articulating how you work and what your company stands for. Anything that has to do with, communicating to the culture what your meaning and purpose is. So we typically throw that in the bucket of mission, vision, values. I'm a little reluctant to kind of just say mission, vision, values because that's become almost commoditized as an idea. And I find a lot of companies do the work on that, but then actually they're not doing it in a really strong, meaningful way to where it's actually shifting the culture. And instead it becomes either a marketing exercise or a, kind of a rah-rah exercise. And so what I mean by like that is like going back to Loop and David, we help them articulate that their mission is revolution. We do a process called a 1-word mission statement. Revolution is their 1-word mission. And so what that means is that everything they do comes through the lens of a revolutionary perspective. So they hire people in a very revolutionary way. They've been remote for a long time. So, they've done that revolution long before it was popular. The way they package their products and services is totally different than the RFP world competitors do. So their competitors are competing on price through RFP, and Loop has figured out like, actually, we're going to sell this different thing that nobody else sells. And it's actually way better than the RFP. And they've embraced this idea of software and agile development, which they've moved into the world of hard. So it's like everything they do is looked at as what is the revolution that needs to happen here. And so I feel like if a company wants to embrace that idea, like wants to embrace like a powerful guiding principle, and they think they might know what it is, or they think they've got something, but they're not sure, we can get them there. Like we can totally get them there. That works our, totally in our sweet spot. And then I'd say finally, if you want to hire great people and you want to retain great people, we've got the playbook for that. We've had, really tough year and a half, 2 years, whatever you want to say. We haven't lost any employees. Our clients who've embraced these ways of working generally haven't lost people. David's company, Loop, he's got 5 openings and he's got like 70 applications. And these are like super hard to staff positions. He pays no money in recruiting fees. So I love that idea of like building a thing that means you can get great talent without having to shell out a bunch of money in a transactional way. So those are all things that we're really good at. Yeah.
So I want to drill down a little deeper on this. So Shawn, you wrote or co-wrote a book that I loved, and as you know, I've recommended it out to people, called Marketing from the Inside Out. So you've spoken about mission, vision, values. You've spoken about marketing. You've spoken about hiring and retention. Now, some people will go, yeah, that all goes together well. But for a lot of people, it's like, wait a second, how does all that work together? And why does all that work together? And how does your marketing get affected by your mission, vision, values? And what does that have to do with hiring and recruiting? So I'm going to ask you to expand on all of that.
Yeah. Okay. In one sentence.
in a couple minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. I could talk about this all day long. I'd say the easiest example to articulate this is a traditional org chart, builds things in boxes, right? So you've got marketing, maybe you shove marketing and sales together, which is, I think, a mistake already. You've got HR, you've got operations, finance, et cetera, et cetera. Some systems actually lump weird things, like they'll put marketing under finance, which is a very strange decision. And if you look at like the root of the modern org chart, it goes back to like the railroads, like the first railroads. And it's so crazy. Like if you were to walk into a business and be like, yeah, I just got here on my horse and buggy, like people would be like, you're crazy, but yet we bust out this org chart all day long. And I've been thinking hard about org charts, and like, when you show somebody an org chart and you'd be like, yeah, this is how you organize, right? And they're like, yeah. And then you start drawing arrows, and well, this person talks to this person. Pretty soon it's a big mess. And you realize like the modern org chart really isn't working that well. And that small businesses, their competitive advantage is that they actually sort of just either ignore org charts altogether, or they just put them up and then actually behave differently. And so what Marketing from the Inside Out does is it recognizes that at the core of an organization is what it stands for, its purpose, and that should drive everything. And a great example of that is that marketing and HR should actually be like best friends, always. So if you can get marketing to use its magic skills around storytelling and communication and value creation over on the HR side, which is hiring and recruiting, you're gonna have a way better time getting people to join you for purpose as opposed for a paycheck. And that's a really obvious thing, to me, but you'd be surprised at how many people are sort of like, yeah, we gave the HR the task to go find the person. And then you read the job description, it's like total garbage. It's just like, must be able to lift 50 pounds, must be able to use Microsoft Word, and then maybe at the bottom it says about our team, founded in 1935, blah, 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 corporation is the preeminent, blah, 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 boring. And so like we take that and we just say, screw that. Let's start with purpose and storytelling. Why does the company exist? Why is it meaningful? And let's shift the value proposition to the candidate and say, candidate, here's what's in it for you. Come join us, as opposed to show us why we should hire you, which is the old way of kind of HR. And so that's why I think HR and marketing should be talking to each other, and that vision and purpose should guide and align those two organizations. That's like one really simple example.
I'm going to ask you for one more. So just help us understand, how does that feed back into marketing, right? How does that come back into how the company presents itself, how it gets new clients?
Right.
I'll give you another 90 seconds to
okay. Right. Great example. Okay. So, I talked a lot about Dave. I'll talk about Kinesis. So our one word mission is transformation, right? So we help companies that actually want to go from a state to a new state. And so when we hire employees, the job description has the word transformation written all over it. Everything is described. If your job will involve constant change, your job will be making a meaningful difference in people's lives. Your job, right? So we're speaking the language of change and transformation. And so somebody who's the child of an entrepreneur reads that and goes, I've lived this my whole life. Like that is me. I literally, like, one of my best employees who's been with me now for a decade. She left a really stable, solid, better paying job than Kinesis because she read the job description. I was like, wow, this is me. And I'm kind of okay over here, but I'm not inspired. And this is inspiring. Okay, so you get that person in your organization, right? Now you have a change agent. You have somebody who believes in transformation. Over in marketing, I'm selling to you. Let's say you're my customer, Rob. I'm selling you change. Your business is fundamentally going to change in a really cool way. Here's my team that's going to deliver these services. So the team, because they've been attracted to us because of transformation, they believe in transformation, they're going to deliver transformation to you. And now I'm going to live my brand promise to you, and you're going to experience that. And now you're going to be a customer who, when you talk to your buddies and they say, what is Kinesis doing for you? And you're like, they're changing my company. And you're going to become now a brand advocate for us, right? Now you're a marketing partner you're not just revenue, right? Now you're a marketing partner to me, telling the truth about what Kinesis is to your friends. And so now you've got this like authentic feedback loop from the market to the employee to Kinesis back, and it keeps expanding. And that's how you can end up not spending a ton of money on marketing, quite candidly.
Right. I just noticed something. I just noticed your scam, Shawn. So all you're really doing is taking what's worked for your company and helping other companies. You're just going, hey, we did this here.
Yeah,
you got to do this here.
It's true.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. You know I'm a fan, so I'm just joking.
I know.
I'm a big fan. It's really amazing. I hope everybody watching this appreciates it the way I do. And in fact, my wheels were turning about Work Better Now, and because we know we're changing lives, both at the VA, at our assistant side, and then at our clients. I mean, they're both telling us that, and we need to change how we're marketing ourselves too. I mean, some of it we're doing. Anyway, I just think that's unbelievable. Okay, when you're not working, Shawn, I guess I kind of know the answer because I follow you on Instagram. But when you're not working, what do you like to do?
Oh gosh, so I'm on the second floor of a house that I built, which is a pretty small living area. So that the downstairs first floor could be dedicated to a big wood shop and metal shop. And so there's all kinds of like creative tools and whatnot, right below me that, I make. You can kind of see it in the background there. There's a credenza below the TV that I made. And so I built the kitchen over there. Everything's backwards, but, poured the concrete countertops, so I'm a maker at heart. I love to build things, which, it explains why I like small business, right? I mean, helping people build things is like super rewarding. And then I have clients that are doing awesome stuff. Like I have a client, they are high-end handmade tiles. They've got like, 70, 80 employees, something like that, and making tile just down here in Portland. And it's like walking through their factories. I'm like a kid in a candy shop. So, I love making stuff and watching other people make stuff.
Very cool. So Shawn, where can people find out more about you and your company?
Yeah, I'm super active on LinkedIn. So if you want to connect to me directly, shoot me an invite and mention, this podcast, because I get a lot of like people just trying to sell me stuff. And I actually don't accept those invitations because I've built a really powerful network of people who I know, but just mention the show here, or Work Better Now. And then, if you want to check out the company, we're at kinesis.team. It's KINESIS.team. Like we're all one team working together. So.
And what's your Instagram handle? Because they can see your maker stuff.
Yeah. If you want to see furniture and puppies, which is sort of kind of over. I have a
the puppies are the loss leader, right?
Puppy is definitely a loss leader. So Maddie and Cooper can be seen at Portland Built on Instagram. Yeah.
Very cool. Shawn, thanks so much for taking a few minutes to speak with us, and the Work Better Now community. Awesome episode. I can't wait to share this.
Cool. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks.